Time to try something new. John Davis of Paul Davis Automation here on this episode, show, vlog. I have no idea what this is, but I do know that I'm going to call it a tale for a sale. Until one of you gives me a better name, because I'm horrible at naming things, and that's all I could come up with. That's all I got. Why am I doing this? I am tired of webinars, and you probably are too. Business should be a two-way exchange of information. We're all used to having a salesperson come in and hopefully give you some valuable information that you can use at work or home, professional, non-professional, whatever, in exchange for your valuable time. And right now, I just don't feel like that's happening. We're asking for a lot and giving very, very little. So what I'm proposing is I am going to tell you something completely non-related to work, whether it's a story or a tool review or just something that I find interesting. If you like that, I ask that you stick around for the second part of the video where I showcase one of the products that, frankly, I'm selling. If you don't like what I have to say in the first part of the video, then you can leave. The best part is this is all on your timeline. It's 2020. Really, you should be able to go get information when you want it asynchronously, and you shouldn't be a slave to your calendar, because I think we're all tired of that. So here we go. I'm going to give this a shot. I would love your feedback. If you like it, tell me, please. Comment, subscribe, do something, just so I know that somebody out there is listening. So without further ado, here we go.
Sacrifice. In this era of COVID-19, on the radio, on the news, on billboards with PSAs, we hear a lot about sacrifice. We are all in this together. Sacrifice is an interesting word. It gets bandied about nowadays, equally in reference to minor inconveniences, regular haircuts that you can't get during quarantine perhaps, as well as major life-altering events, layoffs, furloughs, loss of a business brought on by financial hardship due to said business being non-essential. Well, Merriam-Webster defines sacrifice as A, destruction or surrender of something for the sake of something else, or B, something given up or lost, as in the sacrifices made by parents. I know very little about sacrifice. Sure, I'm a parent, and I certainly make sacrifices for my family, but let's be honest. For this guy born in 1984, life has been pretty straightforward and easy. Sure, there have been some bumps in the road, but I grew up in a stable family that reaped the rewards of a nice middle-class existence during a time of unprecedented peace and prosperity fueled by the end of the Cold War and the dawn of the age of the internet. Even through our nation's more recent darkest times, September 11th, the Great Recession, the mess in the Middle East, COVID-19, I have not been called to sacrifice anything more than what could be considered an inconvenience. And thank God for that blessing. Tools are a unique material possession. For those of us who find peace in working with our hands, tools are talismans, magical figures charged with a force which they are intended to represent. If the eyes are the window to the soul, tools are the blueprints. You can tell a lot about a man or a woman by the tools that they keep. My grandfather, Ray Laughlin, was a man defined by sacrifice, and his tools show it. No, they don't show it. They emanate it. Born in 1922, Raymond Vinton Laughlin was the fourth of 6 children raised on a family dairy farm in rural central East Ohio. Born in a house built by his father that still stands today, and it's framed in oak, if you can believe that. His childhood, just shy of 100 years in the past, could be 500 years in the past for how different it looks than the average childhood today. Everyone worked. His brothers and sisters plowed fields with a one-bottom plow drawn by a mule team. His sisters plowed in homemade dresses made by their mother, Grace. Grandpa would walk his younger sister, Jane, to school, literally up hills both ways, about a mile's distance both ways, through the woods and through the fields. Grace did not allow Jane to walk alone, or walk on the road for that matter, as she was afraid that someone would, in her words, steal her. When the snow was too deep, and my Aunt Jane defines too deep as snow up to the belly of the horse, their father, my great-grandfather Walter, would take them on horseback to the schoolhouse. The schoolhouse was a one-room affair that you think of when you typically think of one-room schoolhouses that housed under 20 kids each year. 20 kids representing grades 1 through 8. When he hit his teenage years, he was called to the war, as so many were, and served his country in the army stationed in the Philippines. When the war ended, he came home, got married, and took over the farm. With his wife Claudia, he fathered 3 children and devoted his life to the nearly impossible task of running a small dairy farm. As increasing government regulations slowly eroded profits for small dairy farmers across the country, Grandpa had to increasingly rely on his other job as a carpenter to provide for his family. For decades, he worked 2 full-time jobs. He would get up at 5:30, milk the cows, work construction until late in the day, and then tend to his farm until well after dark. He did this 6 days a week as long as he was able. It was the farming that eventually led to his demise. My mom relates stories to me about how he would often come in from the fields soaked in pesticide and herbicide. Later in life, he developed Parkinson's disease, which we found out was likely caused by these same toxins that he used to keep the farm running. The slow, painful, dehumanizing descent to death caused by Parkinson's was the tragic end for a good man that gave all for his country and for his family. Puts the meaning of sacrifice into context, doesn't it? I've been restoring Grandpa's old tools to try and better understand the man that I never had a chance to know. This vise, a Columbian D44, was manufactured in Cleveland, Ohio sometime in the 1940s or 1950s. According to my mom, this vise lived on my grandpa's workbench for as long as she could remember. According to my dad, my grandfather likely purchased it used from a farm sale, as new tools were far too expensive for what we would call nowadays a farmsteader, but was known back then as a poor farmer. I found the vise sitting under a pile of junk in the corner of the garage that sits on the family farm. When I got it, it was splattered in paint, some of which I recognized as Ford blue used on his old Ford 9N tractor. Both handles were bent, probably due to tightening them down with a breaker bar. The jaw inserts were destroyed, and the screws that held them into the actual vise were stripped. Also, the retainer clip on the machine screw that allows the forward jaw to translate on the screw was missing, so the vise would close, but it would not open. And the bushing supporting the machine screw is completely missing, so the screw and the handle banged around in the vise during rotation. Restoring it was rather straightforward: prep and paint, a retainer clip and the proper size oil-light bushing, some grease, new jaw inserts made of white oak. I'm a woodworker, and this vise will be used for woodwork holding, all mounted on a piece of quarter-sawn white oak that hangs on my French cleat wall and clamps to my work table when needed. Spending time with it, I began to notice details giving some insight into the type of life that this vise and my grandfather led. The anvil, well, any flat part really, was marred from hammer strikes, and weld splatter was evident all over. Most impressively, the vise is bent, which is a feat given that the entire thing is casted from solid ductile iron. I mean, it still works, but the jaws don't quite line up when closed. And it's fine. You know, honestly, never trust a tool that looks new, or frankly, a person with a clean car in a Cleveland winter. Anyway, that's some life. A chunk of iron, malleable yet strong, but still functional. Rough externally, but under the dirt and crust and grime, a beautiful finish imparted by a lifetime of human contact. A hard-working, purpose-driven object that devoted itself to a life of service. Service that eventually dealt it a mortal blow. Are we talking about Grandpa or the vise? Man, tools do indeed have soul.
All right, and you're here. I actually find that kind of amazing. I didn't lose everybody, or if I did lose everybody, now I'm just talking to myself on the internet. But either way, in this height of amazing technology in this recording studio, which is my garage workshop, I did want to feature the AMCI integrated servo motors to you today because it's a cool product, and I think you should see it. So this motor right here, this is the AMCI integrated servo motor, and in comparison, this is the AMCI integrated stepper motor, which many of you are probably familiar with. So the integrated stepper has been around for quite some time. We've had a lot of commercial success with it, and the number one thing we heard from the people that we sell this to is, hey, we want the same thing, but we want it in a servo. So that is why we created the servo. So this is the first product of the category, and some quick hits on it. It's a 60 millimeter, 1.3 Newton meter at 3,000 RPM integrated drive servo motor. So you have your motor here, and you've got your integrated drive on the back.
So all you need to run to it is a power cable and network cables, and that's it. There's no drive that's required to go in the cabinet. All right, this thing is a DC motor, so it runs on anywhere from 48 volts to 80 volts DC. It comes with a 14-bit absolute multi-turn encoder. It is IP50 with the optional shaft seal, and I have it on good authority from the folks at AMCI that hopefully someday this will be better for washdown type environments. And it also comes with safe torque off, which is a huge benefit for those companies that are really concerned about safety, and their customer requirements are asking for safe torque off and more safety requirements. The onboard networks, what you get out of the box, you get Ethernet IP, Modbus TCP, and Profinet. It's important to note that AMCI is an Encompass partner with Rockwell Automation, so programming the AMCI servo in a Logix or MicroLogix PLC is very straightforward. We have sample code for the Logix platforms, we have AOIs, we have EDS files, and we have very easy to use function blocks so you can just drop right into your code and you're good to go. That's the entire point of AMCI in general. For the PLC platforms that we support, we try to keep you in your native PLC software as long as possible because nobody likes to learn new software. It's a giant pain in the butt. Last thing you do get some onboard inputs. And those inputs would be limit inputs for home and for over travel, capture position, manual jog stop, e-stop, registration, and index move inputs. So you can do some internal logic on it that, again, you program through the PLC, but those onboard inputs are going to be a lot faster than waiting on network latency. I guess the last thing I want to say about it is that AMCI does 100% design their own hardware. They do their own mechanical design, and they design their own network stacks and firmware from the ground up. So this is a product that is not done by somebody else that AMCI white labels. This is a product that is made in Connecticut, engineered in Connecticut, and the guy who wrote the Ethernet IP network stack or the Profinet network stack is the same guy that you would be talking to, or maybe one time removed from the guy you'd be talking to if you're having issues with it. So it's a very well supported product, very easy to use, and we like them. We've sold quite many of them. So I'll try to keep these short so that people stay interested, but again, that's the AMCI integrated servo. I will put links to it down below. Important thing to mention, $1,375 list price. So your local distributor, your local Rockwell distributor can likely get you better pricing, but that's the list price. So links are down below. If you like this, please, again, let me know. Please subscribe, like, comment, do something, send up a smoke signal. I would like to do more of these. I think they're fun to do. Just give me a shout and we'll see what we can do. Until next time, thank you.